morning, good morning, good morning. How are you all this morning? Let me know. We're just gonna give it a couple, like a 30 seconds, a minute. Let everybody jump on. Let me know, where are you at? Where are you from? Oh my goodness, do we have fires in North Dakota? It is scary. We had a fire near our new place, like a mile away. That was scary. I'm not sure what started that. And then we had the western side of the state, Medora. If anybody knows where Medora, North Dakota is, massive fires. Sent out the National Guard helicopters so that they could use the buckets and get that out. That was scary. Nobody in North Dakota wants Medora to burn up. So that was very scary. And then we had another big fire just 40 miles from us, I guess, west of us. It's dry on the western side of the state. Hey, David, how are ya? Okay. There's so few people today. I think everybody's sleeping in. I have to work. I didn't get the day off. Kids got the day off. Husband's got the day off. I'm like, I don't have the day off. We have people to help. Nobody has time to take off. Well, we are going to go anyway. We are going to get started. Alabama, nice. We are going to get started. I had some good meetings this week. And ironically, this does not happen. And it's maybe happened once or twice. But I have had a couple people this week, 2 of them in fact, that I met with in 2016, 2017 in that area. And they didn't do anything. And guess what? When I talked to them this week, not much has changed. Yes, we're getting out of debt. We're closer to managing some of that debt. But at the end of the day, not a whole lot has changed. And so if we don't change the way we do things, things aren't going to change. That is my big message for today. We need to change what we're doing. We need to change what we're thinking. And, I saw somebody on one of my Facebook ads, somebody's friend tagged him. And his response is, yes, I've heard them talking on podcasts. Them is me. I'm only a one-man show here. And so, yes, I've heard them talking, but you need to dig deep. So you heard me interviewed on a podcast for 30 minutes and you made your decision and you haven't read the book and you don't know anything. Obviously, your friend tagged you because they want to help you. Yet, I don't know why, but this week I am just on a rant. Oh my God. Why are we so blockheaded? Why can we not open our minds to other things and at least look at them before we judge them? If you guys are following my Facebook page, you saw my rant yesterday. It's still my rant today. I just can't get over it. I'm super annoyed. I don't know what the deal is, but people are driving me crazy this week. People that don't want to change. And so, again, I understand there are people that see me that cannot get started. We help them figure out how they can get started and what we need to do to get rid of some of that debt. Okay? We've figured that out in the meeting. If we are still questioning the thought process and so scared to take that step, why? Why are we so scared to do one little thing different? If it's working for other people and what we're doing isn't working, why are we so scared to do that? To me, that doesn't make sense because I'm not that person. But if you are and you're terrified of, oh my gosh, this lady's going to take all my money, really? I don't take any money. Right? You probably have life insurance. You're already giving somebody else premium. What's the difference? We have to look to do something different if we're not making money. If we're selling wheat, corn, durum, cotton, whatever it is we're selling, and it's not making us money, what are we doing that's not correct? Are we marketing that grain? Are we spending too much money on fertilizer and chemical? Do we have too much equipment? Are we planting crops correctly? Look at the big picture of what you are doing to see what needs to change. And then you have to make the change. You can't think about making the change. You have to actually make the change. Which some people are so far on the scared conservative side that they don't want to do anything. And then you have people that are so far on the other side, they're willing to take the risk. And they just try everything, and if they fail, that's not a big deal. They figure a way out of it. Right? There's a happy medium in there. And a lot of times we can learn from people that have done it wrong before us. That's how I like to learn. I love it. Because why would I go do the same thing somebody else has done and failed? That doesn't make any sense. Am I going to do a little research? Yes, because somebody may have failed because they didn't do it correctly. But that doesn't mean that I can't learn from that. So that's today's, I'm not done ranting. Stay tuned. I got more in me today. Hey, Lindsay, how are you? Hi, Holly. My goodness, you're up at the crack of silly. Okay. First client I'm going to go over, young guy, very young, 20s, ranching with dad, just bought 30 head of cattle. Now, here's the deal with him, is I said, you have a line of credit for his 30 head. Well, he just bought them, so he hasn't even had a full year in yet. And he said, no. And then I said, well, what do you owe? Do you have a cattle note? Yep, on my line of credit. I said, why do you have your cattle note on your line of credit? Now, this is not the first time I've seen this. I see this a lot. And I said, why do you have a cattle note? Oh, they said that they would just term it out after my first payment. What's your interest rate on your line of credit? Oh, it's like 6%. What's the interest rate going to be on your cattle note? 3.5%. I said, why are you waiting to term it out? Well, that's what they told me to do. No. It's going to cost him, I did the math for him, his first payment's going to be $8,000. And it's not just interest only. That he said, because his first payment's $8,000. That's more than just the interest at 6% on that note for the year. If he termed it out right away, his payment would be like $6,500, and he would start paying them down and not just have to not pay a loan and interest and then carry it through. Why are we not taking the full? Why are we paying $2,000 extra? That doesn't make sense. And then we're going to term it out? The only person that wins in this scenario is the banker. And they're teaching this young guy how to do it incorrectly. Why not have, if we're going to do a cattle note, why are we putting it on a line of credit? I don't understand that. I would want it termed out. I would want to know how long it's going to go to pay, because now instead of paying those cows off in 7 years, it's going to be 8. That doesn't make sense to me. The other thing is he is wondering, he doesn't want an off the ranch job because he wants to be able to help his dad and grandpa ranch. That's what he wants to do. And so we talked about the fact that, can he bring in heifers and calve them out? Can he bring in cows to graze? Because he's so young, and I do not like this, and you guys know this because I've said it over and over and over again. I don't like cattle notes. I don't really know why I don't like cattle notes, outside of the fact that everybody I see with a cattle note are struggling. And so what I would prefer for him to do is to, and he said that, they've done this before. They've brought heifers in and calved them out, and they've done some custom grazing. So great. And he's been offered an opportunity to do some custom grazing with some other ranches that he works on in the area. So do some custom grazing for them. Have that income coming to you. You're going to rent the ground from dad and grandpa, but you're not going to have the cattle expense. Then we can take that profit, because we know we're going to have a profit because we don't have the cattle expense. We can take that profit, build our system so that when he has enough money, he can be buying those cows himself rather than having to borrow from the bank for those. I just don't like cattle notes. It makes me sick to my stomach because I just don't see a lot of people with them that are doing well. Because we don't know, is that cow going to be open? Are the calves going to die? What's the market going to be like? And everything depends on the sale of that calf to make that cattle note payment. So, anyway, his payment his premium's going to be really tiny. We're looking at maybe $3,000 a year because he's young, he's like 23. So he's super young. We don't have to stick a lot of money in to get started. He's read the books 3 times. He's listened to the podcast. He knew he could just start more policies. He knew Nelson had 49 policies. So he just wants to get started, which is awesome because now we have a small amount. We can figure out how we're using it, get everything going correctly, and then just keep adding policies to his system. So not every one of my 20-year-olds can we start these huge policies. Just depends where they're at financially. All right, I had another guy who was 63. Mom and dad passed away in the last couple years. He finally inherited the farm, but he's never really worked on the farm. He's always worked off the farm. It was never enough ground. The thing with him is he doesn't want money for operating. He doesn't want money to buy things. He doesn't even want money in the cash value for retirement. His biggest concern was, how do I leave my kids enough money so they can buy out my sisters and we can keep the land all as one? Well, he's 63. That's going to take about $20,000 a year on the minimum side for a banking policy. Okay, he could do much less than that if he just wanted straight up death benefit. But if he wants banking, he's going to need about $20,000 a year. Well, that's going to leave the kids with money to buy the land if the land isn't overpriced. So I asked him, I said, well, what are land values? Well, right now they're like $6,400 an acre because of the fact that he's in a city or a town where urban sprawl is catching him. He said the majority of stuff close to town right now is about $20,000 an acre. Well, he's only 63. By the time that he passes away, there's not I could write a death benefit, but most people aren't going to be able to afford it. That's going to cover for those kids. He is not in a situation financially either where $20,000 he can do it, but it's going to be tight. Super, super tight. And so I said, here's an idea. This is going to help the grandkids more than it's going to help the kids. So if you want, what I would suggest is that he pays some of the premium and the kids pay some of the premium so that they then have a death benefit on dad. They're going to pay about, his health isn't so good. So for him, they're going to pay about 60 cents on the dollar. Should be about 45. But just because of his health, we're going to be about 60 cents on the dollar. And then those kids will at least possibly have the money for some taxes or something. Chances are they are not going to be able to buy out aunt and uncle if urban sprawl takes over at $20,000 an acre. Not going to happen. So I'm not going to be able to necessarily save that with death benefit on dad because we just don't have the funds to do it at this point. However, they're going to have some massive capital gains in their lifetime, somebody's going to have some massive capital gains. Because if Urban Sprawl comes out and buys it and they sell, huge. Big deal. I had some other farmers that these guys were super fun because they were the risk takers, right? I'm a little bit more on the risky side. So the conservative people, I just don't think that way. Not how I think. I'm like, why not just take the opportunity? Why not seize it today and let's go? These guys were to the other point where I was, they're fun, but I'm having to pull them back a little bit, right? Because they have olives, they have olive plant, they have, oh my gosh, they farmed like massive acreages, over 10,000 acres. And they've had some bad years due to commodity prices. And so they are diversifying because they know that the traditional crops are causing them headache. So they're downsizing acreages, obviously going to keep the olives because nobody really wants them. And they went big. They didn't do a small acreage of olives. They did a huge acreage of olives. But it's very cool because they have their own private label. Now they're going to be doing a corn maze, pumpkin patch, possibly a light show. They are a winery. Like, they are really getting into a lot of different avenues of income, which I particularly love to see most of the time because of the fact that my clients and she's a real estate broker. And they're selling real estate. They're doing 1 acre, 1.5 acre lots. They're doing an RV park. I love that because if what we're doing isn't working, what else can we do to diversify that farm using the same ground we already have and doing other things that can generate income? She was not, her real estate gig, she hadn't done it in a while. And so now she's back in that arena, which is going to provide some great income. But they are not scared either to say, you know what? The bank is asking them now for itemized financials. They want everything. And they're being very controlling at this point. And they're behind quite a bit on their operating due to a couple bad years. So they're going to sell some land. They have other stuff that they're selling because they are getting out of debt. They are getting rid of the bank. They do not want anything to do with the bank because they are being controlling. And I see this a lot. It is not an easy decision. When we have to start selling land and selling stuff to get rid of the banker, not an easy decision. But you pretty much don't put a farmer up against a wall, right? And say, this is what I want from you, because that's farming. There's going to be ups and downs, and we expect to have our banker in with us on those ups and downs. These guys have done everything right. They've marketed grain. It's just been a bad few years due to weather in their area, due to commodity prices. It happens. But at the same time, the bank wants their money. So kudos to them. Something else that was really interesting in their situation is the state that they live in. I didn't even know this was a thing, but the state that they live in will not allow them to refinance their home. So their home is worth about $1 million. Their state will only allow them to refinance to 50% of the value. If they sold it, or if they bought it, they could finance it at 80%. So my thought was, sell it to one of your entities, have them buy it, and get the dang cash out of it. I don't know if that's possible, but what a dumb rule. I have never come across that. But she's paying $1,000 a month more on this mortgage. I said, why are you giving the bank $1,000 more a month when they won't even allow you to borrow against it? That doesn't even make sense. You can't even refinance it to get it back out. Why would you pay extra? Not often do I make very bold claims and say, stop. Stop doing what you're doing. But I strongly suggested, stop doing what you're doing. Because I would not give the bank one extra dollar if my state said, oh, you can't refinance your loan. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Hi, David. Hi, Jeremy. All right. What else we got here? I already talked about that guy. I had another young guy, has an off the farm job, farming with dad part-time, would like to take over. Him and his wife make a lot of money, no kids yet, and they are amazing savers. Oh my gosh. Amazing savers. And so he is also overpaying on his mortgage. He is sticking 10% into a Roth. He is sticking as much money into his retirements as he can. And he's 29 years old. I'm like, why are you sticking all the money there if you want to farm? You're not going to have access to it till you're 59 and a half. So as much as a Roth, and a lot of people put money in a Roth because a Roth is supposed to be this awesome thing. And a Roth is good in the aspect that it grows income tax free, right? Just like a life insurance policy, it's going to grow income tax free. But in a Roth, you don't have liquidity of money, and you put it at risk. There's still fees and charges. You still can't access it till you're 59 and a half, which brings us back to the no liquidity, right? So why are we putting our money there? I mean, if he's getting a match, fine, whatever. His match is only like 5%. So if your match is only 5%, then put the 5% there, but stop the other 5 because we want to use it. What are we going to do when we need to go buy cows, when we need to, buy equipment, when we want to buy land? We're going to have to pay a penalty to get it out of there. Because in a Roth, you're going to pay a penalty to take out the growth. According to the Google, you have to have the Roth 5 years before you can take out what you put in without penalty. So what good is that? I had a guy this week or last week. It was the same guy that he had a bunch of money they had a bunch of money in an investment, and they said, well, you need to roll it. It was the same guy. You need to roll it to a Roth. But we have to hurry up and do that before the end of the year. Why? He's like, well, I didn't have to pay as many taxes. Okay, I am not a financial advisor, and I have yet to check on this, and I'm going to check on it. When you roll money from an IRA to a Roth, you pay the taxes at that time. You avoid the penalty. There is no hurry before the end of the year. So I said, well, that doesn't make sense to me. I've not heard that. I said, I will have to check on that, but I've not heard that. There's not going to be a penalty, but you paid the taxes. You have to, because it is now a Roth. And now you have to leave it there 5 years to take it out without penalty. And then it came out that the guy that was doing it, and I know the company he works for, they are very, very pushy. I don't know how this company trains their people, but though they are vultures and nasty, and it is, why do we have to do it by the end of the year? So I can make a damn goal? Are you kidding me? But guess what? The client didn't ask enough questions. The client didn't say why. Instead, like everything else we do in the financial world, we just hand the money over and trust that they're going to be honest. People don't trust me. People investigate me. They investigate the concept. They research it. They read their contract word for word, a lot of them. So you're holding me to a different standard than your financial guy, which I could care less. I'm just saying, ask your financial guy the same amount of questions that you're asking me. Don't just take it for granted that they know what they're doing because the noise says to put money there. Ask those questions. That's your money. And I never asked those questions either. Today would be a very different story. Working with clients, I want you to understand what you're doing. I want you to ask questions. I had a client meeting this week with an existing client, and he said, Mary Jo, I think it'd be good if we talked every 3 months. I said, I don't care if you call me every month. It doesn't matter to me. If we're going to be working that closely together and you need that much help or guidance to because they got a lot going on, to kind of get your head around what we're doing, then schedule your appointment every month. I don't care. It's what I'm here for. If I'm not talking to you, I don't know what's going on. We spend, 15 minutes just figuring out where we left off. Because things happen. Life happens. So don't just take somebody's word for it. It doesn't make any sense that we rolled this to a wrath before the end of the year. And we had to hurry. And now he's regretful for what he did because he's now understanding that it maybe wasn't the best decision. But they were rushed along so somebody could make a goal. That drives me crazy. I'm telling y'all, I have rants today. I have no idea why, but I am on a roll this week. Okay, who else do we have? Oh, this was a very sweet couple too. I just love everybody that I meet with. So these guys, this was actually fairly interesting. He had a feedlot, and now they went from the feedlot, and they said for them it was really just figuring out how to create less stress and anxiety and have a better life. And so they went from a feedlot to just range grazing. They've implemented a lot of regenerative egg. They've got some poultry, and they are selling all the equipment that they no longer need. Because what I've been learning is with the regenerative egg, we don't need a lot of this equipment that we have. And so they are selling this equipment, and they will be debt-free by the end of the year. 100% debt-free, and then they will have enough money to operate on cash. Now, did they have to decrease acres and kind of what they're doing? They did, absolutely. And it's not, they didn't just pull the plug overnight, but they transitioned out of that very slowly. It's been like 4 years or something. But it was really interesting because I don't see that very often. In fact, I don't know that I've ever seen it. That we've said, you know what? We are killing ourselves from the stress. We're not doing it anymore. There's got to be a better way. And obviously something happened. I did not ask. Something happened on the health front or home front or whatever. I said, we can't do this. This isn't why we're doing what we're doing, and we don't love it anymore, and we're figuring out a better way. So that was a really fun conversation to have, but it's even more fun to see them making a profit on a smaller scale, making more money than they made before on a bigger scale. And I do see that a lot. It's about profit, not about scale size. I don't care if you're farming 50,000 acres. In fact, this is a good example. I had a young agent from down south somewhere messaging me last night. Super, super nice guy. And he said, Mary Jo, is it different working with farmers and real estate investors? Yes. I love it when agents think that, oh, I'm just going to go work with farmers because Mary Jo has this book. But they don't know how farming works. They don't know that there's not money. They don't know how leveraged you guys are. They don't know any of that stuff. But anyway, so he said, well, there's a lot of wealthy farmers where we're at. And I said, no, there's not. He's like, well, they got a lot of money. And I said, no, they don't. I said, they may have a lot of acres. I said, they may be farming 5, 7, 8, 10, 15,000 acres because of where he's at. They're big farmers. And I said, but that doesn't mean that they have a lot of money. It usually means that they are financed to the hilt. And so when we look at scale, and I wrote about this in the book, every boat has its holes. The bigger boats have bigger holes. It's the exact same thing, right? If you're a small farm, you might have the small holes. If you're a big farm, you have bigger holes. We're all losing money at the same rate. What's interesting that I have seen in just the recent, last year or two, is that smaller operations are actually probably making a little more profit just because they are smaller in scale. They can actually do their books. They can pay attention to kind of where the money is going rather than being so chaotic to try to do the big scale. Now I have big, huge farmers with 10,000 plus acres that are also making a profit. So it really depends how you're running that operation, right? Do you know your books? God created you to be a banker, not a bookkeeper. So get a bookkeeper. But in this scenario of these guys, they understood what we're doing at our scale and the stress wasn't worth it. So we're going to look at doing something different and downsize. And they're happy. And he's healthy. And it's good. And then the other guy on my list is just one of those guys I talked about earlier that I talked to in 2016 and talked to again this week, and nothing has changed. The last client that I want to talk about is a new client that we had this week that we issued a policy on. So I always have new clients that have read the book, but this guy we actually issued a policy on. And this was very fun. Why? Because it's my first farmer in Chicago. Yes, in Chicago. He is living in the city. And he is urban farming. And he is doing what's called spin farming. And so this has been my other rant for the week. Is that I have farmers every single avenue. You guys, I have farmers like him that are using people's backyards. He'll set up a garden in other people's yards because he lives in Chicago, right? So he'll set up a garden, is what we would call it, in other people's yards, and he's going to farm that. And he's going to sell that produce to restaurants and farmers markets and whatever. They're farmers. I don't care what people want to call them. Gardeners, farmers, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. And then I have people that are, 20,000 plus acres that they're farming. We as farmers and ranchers have got to stop fighting amongst ourselves in our own industries. It is amazing how many people I talk to that are yipping on one side and the other about, oh, these urban farmers and oh, these big farmers, and the big farmers are yipping about the urban farmers, and who cares? Why can't we just do our thing? If we cannot unite, and guess what? My guy in Chicago does not care. Does not care if you farm 15,000 acres and you want to farm 15,000 acres. Doesn't matter to him. He said and this is why. These are his words. He said, I am not going to talk badly and slap the hand that feeds me. He said, I need those big guys. Yes, I on a small scale can provide stuff to people, but we need both sides, right? Because your urban farmers are catering to those restaurants that want local, that want organic, or whatever it is that they want. There are people that want that. But this same individual says, you know what? I am super thankful that there is food at the grocery store for me, boxed cereal, and whatever else he's eating. He's super healthy. He probably doesn't eat boxed cereal, but I'm super thankful for boxed cereal. Nonetheless, he understands that when he wants to go to a restaurant, If he wants to drive through McDonald's or Wendy's or wherever, Chick-fil-A that you guys have in the South, if he wants to do that, that food is most likely provided by a big farmer because we need everybody. So we are so under attack from PETA and these activists that are out in full force right now. I have so many agriculture friends that are sharing their life on Facebook, and these PETA people come in and are just the nastiest, meanest people. And you're under attack from the outside, but you're attacking each other on the inside. How in the heck is this industry supposed to survive if you can't even get along with each other on the inside? You need to be getting along and accepting the fact that people are going to do other things without belittling them. And so what really got me on this rant yesterday was I am on, I'm in some Facebook group for farming. And somebody from Africa shared how they brand cattle. And it's a lot of branding. And if you are from the United States, you initially go, whoa. Like, well, you are like making designs on the cattle. It's like a lot of branding. And it's probably very traumatic for the cows. And people are attacking this guy. He is very proud of his culture. He puts this picture on there and says, how do you guys brand? And it is atrocious how many people attacked this guy from a different country without asking, why do you do it that way? And he said in a couple comments, like the first couple people that had negative comments, he said, the younger generation wants to change it, but our elders would curse us. Now, I asked him what that means to have a curse, because to curse us here would mean they're going to cuss us out, right? To curse us there might mean they're going to wish evil on them. And if that is something that they're going to believe is going to happen because it's a religious thing, then they're not going to change the way they're doing things, right? It's no different than here, us trying to convince our elders that we want to do some sort of different farming. Why? Why are we belittling people in the same industry across the world and we don't even understand what's going on? This is driving me crazy. I have a white fuzzy. Sorry. Why are we belittling those people? For Pete's sakes. What is wrong with us? And then on my post yesterday, somebody said, well, thanks, Mark Zuckerberg, because it's your fault. The world will never be the same. What? No. We do not get to pass this off as somebody else's fault. Self-responsibility to say, think before you open your mouth and post something nasty. Was it alarming to see that? Yes. I'm like, holy shysta. But why? Like, why do they do that? Before I go comment and make the guy feel bad. Because guess what? He commented on the first 2 comments and then he never commented again. Because why? He probably was so beaten into the ground that he just left. And he probably left that group. Because I haven't got a response from him. And I want to understand why he's going to be cursed. I want to know what that means. Not to judge him, just because I'm truly interested in his culture. But no. Why would I wouldn't stay. I'd actually remove the damn post. You guys are all part of that. It is time to stop that nonsense. And support each other. I don't care where you are in the world. If you are farming, that industry is dying, and you guys are fighting amongst each other on the way down. It just does not make sense to me. We are fighting traditional finance at every corner. And guess what? The young agent that talked to me yesterday, he is not IBC certified. I encouraged him to get there. We shared some insights on why I don't agree with certain things he's doing. But I could have a civil conversation to teach. Those of us that are infinite banking practitioners work together. We don't fight each other while we're fighting the world. I don't get it. I don't understand the thought process there. But please, next time you see somebody in the farm world doing something you may not agree with, think about it. They may not agree with you either, but it takes all of us, to make the world go round. Okay, that's the end of my rant. You know what? And when I started today, I even forgot to introduce myself, but you know, if you don't know who I am now, if you have not gotten Farming Without the Bank or Life Without the Bank, please do that. Life Without the Bank is not going to be at that $5.99 price for much longer. So if you've not gotten that one, go ahead and get that one. Otherwise, you've got Farming Without the Bank. You can go to Farming Without the Bank and get that. If you are listening on the Without the Bank page, you can go to withoutthebank.com and you can grab it there. If you guys have not gotten Nelson's yet, I really, really encourage you to do that. I had some really good questions from clients this week that have listened to his book, and it's important. It's just important that you know what you're doing. I know it's not traditional finance, but it's important that you know what you're doing. Okay, if you guys need anything, you know where I'm at. You can message me here. You can email me. Tune into the podcasts. I appreciate you being here this morning, and you all have a wonderful Easter. Talk to you next Friday.